G'day guys, welcome to Uncle Craig's Asian Kitchen. Got a special treat for you guys today. I'm actually going to share my secret recipe for making absolutely delicious Thai sausages or Laos sausages, or as they say in Thailand, Saigo Isaan, or in Lao, Soi Ua. Anyway, I'll run you through the ingredients here. I'll put the recipe down there in the description, link, comment or something like that as to what the exact measurements and stuff are that I use for all these ingredients. Anyway, we'll run through the ingredients and show you what we're going to start with. So firstly, what we've got down here on the bench is lemongrass, spring onions, garlic, kaffir lime leaves, about 4 kilos of pork shoulder. We're going to cut the fat and stuff off that, trim it up, get rid of all the sinewy stuff. I've got some hog casings here for the skins, dried chilies, Knorr, which is a chicken seasoning, onions, back fat from pork, sugar, MSG, my secret ingredient, and some thin soy sauce, oyster sauce, and some sticky rice. Righto, first thing we're going to do is we'll take some of these pork casings and soak them in some warm water so that they're ready to use when we get to it. And then we'll trim this pork down and get rid of the fat and skin off that and cube it up into small pieces so that it can go through the mincer. Okay, so I'll clear this bench off and we'll get into it. And quickly, fun fact for the day, my Laos Sausages happened to win first prize for Best Asian Sausage at the Bamorm Extension Sausage Fest 2024. Okay, we'll drag some of these casings out. They're covered in salt, so they make a bit of a mess. We'll cut some off to what I think might be a good length, and we'll soak them in, give them a wash and soak it in water. Yeah, separating these is always a lot of fun. So right now I've got 2 hogs casings in there. I reckon that'll be enough for what we need. What we'll do is we'll just run a bit of lukewarm water, tepid water over those, rinse the salt off them, and then we'll leave them sit for an hour or 2 while we're prepping all the other stuff. Yeah, so now we're up to the fun part. Got to cut all the fat and sinewy stuff off these lumps of meat and dice them up into small bits that will be able to fit inside our mincing machine. Okay, here's one of the lumps of meat here. A fair bit of fat on this one and skin. I'm going to cut that off. I'm probably not going to use that fat because it's a bit sinewy, but I'll trim the fat off the skin and my wife will use that skin for cooking a delicious Lao dish. But anyway, we'll start trimming that off. And we have to cut out all this sinewy crap here. Is no good for the mincer, so we'll cut that out as well as we're going. Can be a slow and tedious job for the inexperienced, this. So there we go folks, that's the pork all diced up into cubes. I've got about 3.3 kilos of pork meat there. Normally I'd take that up to about 4 kilos with fat. Would give me about a 20% fat ratio, but the lovely one has requested that I cut the fat ratio down for this lot. So I've only got about 300 grams of fat there. I'll plonk that in there and then we'll put those in the freezer for an hour or 2 while I prepare all the rest of the stuff. And we've got a plate full of lovely pork skin here that my dear wife will use in one of her other recipes. Anyway, we'll pop that in the freezer and then we'll get on to the next bit. Okay, so now the bench has been washed, nice clean, changed cutting board, wiped down the bench, washed my hands for the 15th time. Now I've just rinsed these kaffir lime leaves under the tap to clean them because I picked them off my tree out in the garden. So we'll just dry those off. We need about 8 or 9 grams of kaffir lime, so it usually equates to about 7 largish leaves like that. So we'll we'll cut those up. What we've got to do is we've got to blend everything into a very, very, very fine paste. So we'll start cutting this up and then get onto the lemongrass. With these, I always cut the stalk out of the middle of them, not use that, so it's just a matter of getting a pair of scissors and running it up both sides. Okay, so there's the bits of the kaffir lime leaves we want. What we do now is we just sit here and we cut them into very, very small pieces so that we can put them in the little blender. And the smaller we chop them here, the easier it is for them to blend up. So we pop that in there, and then we get onto the lemongrass. So the next part of the puzzle is the lemongrass. Need about 150 gram of that, which is about 6 pieces trimmed up. So we'll trim that up, weigh it, then we'll cut it up into fine pieces. Okay, we'll pop that on the scales and see how much we've got. $212, $180, $143. That'll do. We've got some for next time. So we just trim this into little bits again. It's a bit harder to cut, a bit time consuming, but the lemongrass and the kaffir lime give you an absolutely delicious blend in the flavours. You wouldn't make them without it. And I've found the quantities we're using here balance each other out perfectly. So we've got all the lemongrass and kaffir lime in there. That's getting a bit full. I'm going to need to add some onion for that. That's the next part of the puzzle. It calls for about 480 gram of onion. So you can use brown or red. I'm using brown today. I'm actually going to use the bottom half of these spring onions as well. And later on I'll cut these up into smaller bits and just add them to the mix before I put them in the casing, just to give them a bit of colour. So anyway, we'll cut up 480 gram of onion and then we'll add some to that. Then we'll empty it into there and we'll put some garlic and some other bits in there and blend some more up. Okay, we've got about 500 gram of onion. We'll cut a little bit of that up and put it in there. Having some moisture in there from the onion will help that stuff chop up properly. Okay, we'll put the lid on that and we'll plug it in and we'll grind it all up. Ideally, you'd do all this in a bigger one, but I haven't got one, so this one will have to do. Okay, that's had a good workout. Pretty important to give that 4, 5, 6 minutes in the blender to get that sort of consistency so that it's all mashed up, because that lemongrass can be pretty woody and you don't want to be biting down on big chunks of kaffir lime leaves. So as I said, that sort of consistency there. We'll put that in the bowl now and we'll get onto some good stuff. We'll put some chilies in there, some garlic, and we'll grind up the rest of that onion as well. Chilies, about 14 of those. As my Lao wife says, bo pet, bo sap, bo gin, meaning not spicy, not tasty, not eat. Anyway, it's 14 of those I find just gives it enough bite that doesn't affect me too much. I can still eat it because I'm not a big spice eater. But anyway, let's put that aside and we'll get into this. So we put the rest of the onion in there. There's I put 12 chilies. There's a couple of big ones, so I counted them as 2. So we'll pop them in there. It's important to grind these up pretty well too. And of course about 50 gram of garlic, which is generally about a bulb. So we'll cut that open, mash them down, chuck them in there, and then we're just about ready to make mince. Okay, so there's 50 gram of garlic. That was a little bit more than a bulb, but anyway, we'll smash that up and put it in the blender. And then we're ready to go. So there's that one all ground up. We'll pop it in that one, and we'll put all this in the fridge, and we'll get the mincer out and we'll put it together and start making some mincemeat. So here's my little mincer set up, 150 bucks. Make sausages as well if you want. It's a bit slower than the other machine, but we'll load this up and we'll start making some mince, and we're nearly ready to put it in the casings. Okay, there's our beef mince. Let's start adding some of this stuff. See, I've chopped up the remainder of those spring onions and added them in there. So we'll put the garlic, onion, chilli mix, lemongrass mix in there. Yeah, we're going to use tablespoons. Sugar, just plain old white sugar, 5 tablespoons. MSG, 3 tablespoons. You could probably skip the MSG if you wanted to, but certainly gives it a enhanced flavour. Okay, 8 tablespoons of chicken seasoning. I don't know whether we're going to have enough in here. We'll see how we go. I'm only going to put 7. We'll leave a bit of that left in case Puno wants to do some cooking. So we put 4 tablespoons of thin soy. At this point you could also add salt if you want. I'm not going to put salt in these. I have done, and even with 1 teaspoon of salt, they still have an overbearing salt flavour, so I'm not putting any in this lot. So 4 of that, 6 of oyster sauce. That's the good stuff. Put as much of this in as you like. This is the answer to everything, this stuff. Okay, that's about it. One last ingredient now, and that's a sticky rice. We'll get some of that. We'll put it in a sieve, and we'll put it under the tap and rinse all the sticky off it so that it's just rice. It's cooked already. If you don't know how to cook sticky rice, I've done a video on that somewhere on my channel a long time ago, so you just search back through my channel and you'll find that. Otherwise I'll do another one shortly. But we'll grab the sticky rice and then we'll mix all this together. Okay, here's the sticky rice. About 770 grams I use in about a 4 kilo batch, so that's what we'll try today. Oh, look at that good stuff. There we go, it's 766 grams. That'll leave a little bit for dinner. Okay, so what we'll do with this sticky rice now is we'll put some in this sieve thing, run it under the tap with some hot water and wash all the gluey stuff off it. Well, here's all the ingredients ready to go. The rice is in there. What I did with that is I run that under the hot tap to get all the sticky stuff off the outside of it. Then I ran it under cold water to make it cold before it went back in here, because the idea of this is to keep everything in this meat as cold as possible before it goes in the sausage casings. Anyway, let's get our hands in there and mix it all in. Oh, it smells delicious. That lemongrass, I love it. It's starting to look nice, isn't it? Trick with this, when you've done, reckon you've done mixing, mix it some more. And it's very cold in here at the moment. As I said, this stuff's been in the freezer, in the fridge, and my poor little hands with the pair of latex gloves on aren't really protected from the cold, and after about 10 minutes you really start to feel it. Well, that's the sausage meat all mixed through. Oh, like I said, that smell, the onion, the lemongrass, the garlic, it is amazing. Anyway, I'll pop this in the fridge. I'll go get me sausage stuffing machine and we'll load it up and get ready to make some sausage. So I've got the sausage packing machine set up. My friend Greg lent me this. It's been a game changer compared to using the little machine that I was using. So we'll pack this with meat. Then I've got the casings here. We'll thread one of those on and then we'll start cranking out some snags. The idea with this, when you're packing this down, is to pack it down so that you get all the air out of it. That way you don't get air in your sausages. Put as much in there as you can. I generally can't fit a whole batch in here. That'll do for now. We'll pop it on there and pop the rest of that back in the fridge and then load it up. It's got an air valve in there that slowly bleeds off. And we'll just crank it down slowly until we get some meat come out the end of the tube. Alright, there we go, pop that back in there. Now we'll look at threading this sausage casing on. Okay, with this sausage casing, there's one end. I've poked some water down in there. As you can see, the water's inside the casing, so that's rinsing out the inside as I slowly thread this on. Finding the end's always a challenge. Here we go. We'll just put a bit of water on this tube to make it slide on a bit easier. And here we go. This is hog casing I'm using here. It's about 32mm, so it makes nice little chunky Asian sausages. I usually do this over on the sink where this sits down a bit lower. I'm just doing it here for the moment. Make it easier for you guys to be able to see it. Okay, I've got one of the hog casings on there. The other one's over there on the sink. You could tie this. You normally tie this off and start making your sausages. Your meat's there. I'm just going to leave that, leave a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches out there hanging, because when I start twisting them into sausages, I'm going to start working from the other end. So I'll just leave this one open for the moment. But now it's just a matter of cranking the handle and filling these cases up, and away you go. So just do it slowly, make them a bit as thick as you feel you need. Don't overfill them. You don't want them to burst. When you twist these into sausages, they will get a little bit fatter because they're only very small sausages, probably 3.5 inches long, 4 inches long at the most, is how the Thai and Lao people eat them. But yeah, it just sort of fills the casing. Try to keep any air that's in there back on the tube. It's sort of backfilling over the tube, so it stops air coming in. Good fun, this. There we go, have a look at that. And I think I mentioned before, these are actual hog casings. You can use collagen, which is probably okay, but I just had a bit of trouble with the collagen ones splitting occasionally when I was cooking, and I think it's because there's not a lot of water content in these sausages. They're not like making breakfast sausages or that. These are fairly coarse ground meat. I think that was the problem with the collagen. But certainly a good way to spend a bit of your spare time if you've got some. So when you've whipped out enough sausage, do you reckon you've got enough to fill one of these little drying racks? Just pull it out a bit, cut it off, and tie it off. So we cut it off there, about there. Just squeeze the air out of that, tie a knot in the end of it. Okay, we've got the end tied. We're going to make them about that long, so we'll just twist one off. Yeah, that's a nice little size. We'll make another one here. Twist in there. And then we'll just work along, and every second one, so we'll squeeze in about here. Squeeze that about there. That one I turn towards me. So this one I need to turn away. And that way they won't undo themselves as you go. And because I turn that one away from me, I get here and I go here and I turn this one towards me. And there we go, one at the end. We'll just tie that one off. Set that one aside to dry off a little bit, then we're going to pop it in the fridge. So what we've got here is a nice little booty of Saigur Isaan, or Saiur, Lao or Thai sausages. What we'll do now is we will pop them in the fridge overnight and let them dry out a bit. Then we'll actually cut them into individual pieces, and in the morning we're going to steam them. Probably give them 10-15 minutes in the steamer. Just cook them through, then we'll take them out, then we'll fry a couple up and we'll sample them, and then we'll package the rest. So stick around, we ain't finished yet. Well, as you can see, these sausages have come up $1 million. I've had them in the fridge overnight, and they've dried nicely. They smell delicious, and What we're going to do now, before I pack them away and freeze them, I'm going to steam them, probably give them 10 or 15 minutes in a steamer, and then I'm going to fry up a couple and try them. But and then we'll pack them and when they're cool and put them in the freezer. But yeah, let's have a go. We'll steam some of these and see what they look like. Okay, well I've packed the steamer. We'll turn that on for about 15 minutes. Let them cook away. And while that's happening, I'll put these back in the fridge and I'll wash the other two drying trays so that I've got somewhere to put the sausages when they've been steamed. Well, those sausages have had about 20 minutes in the steamer. They're looking good. Have a look at that. Ooh. We'll pop them down here and then we'll load it up again. And while we're steaming the next lot, we will fry up a couple of these. Well, there we go. Have a look at that. Because they've been pre-cooked in the steamer, they just need a bit of fry pan flavour put on them, and they look delicious. Now for the big test. Ooh, look at that in there. Righto. Man, that is absolutely delicious. Even with the reduced fat content in these, they're still the best damn Asian sausages you'll ever eat. Mmm. Absolutely delicious. Right, what we'll do now is we'll finish cooking these in the steamer and do the rest of them, and then we'll package them up and put them in the freezer. Well, there we go, folks. We just package them into little bags like that. I think we'll probably leave it there. Just in a side note, no salt in those. They're probably the nicest ones I've done without the salt. So think about giving that a go. Hopefully, I've inspired some of you guys to have a bit of a crack at making your own sausages. I've put the recipe for these ones down in the description below. If you don't want to make a bigger batch, just adjust the ingredients accordingly. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back again cooking some more delicious Asian food.